Yes, we are live. For the sake of copyright, and it's just, yeah, it's just another person reading the story. Yeah. Actually, I think they have two people linked there. Ah, hello, Mike and Raptor. Hello, yellow fellows. I didn't know I was yellow, but okay. Hope you guys are doing well. Gotta admit, I'm actually a little pissed that I woke up on a morning in April to see snow outside. Yeah, what are you gonna do? I envy you. Oh, jeez. Well, that's good. Indeed. Voodoo fan clubs. What? What are you guys talking about? Snow? Oh, some. Or me, so I have something to forget a couple of months from the drought hits. I mean, I can try. Having a rainstorm. See, rain, I don't mind. But snow in April, it's inexcusable. Hello, Code. Psychosis, Silence of the Lambs. Who would win in a fight? Okay, to quote you, Cope, like they're people. Uh, yeah, of course. Check it. Okay, I see what you guys are talking about. Very well. But yeah, so of course, Hannibal would just eat Psychosis guy. The natural, the only correct solution. uh, for me, it's just one of those moments I just smile away. I'm too old to get the young people memes talk. Do I even want to know? Oh God. Oh my God. That's fitting. Alright, Mike's saying that you're muted. Alright, try saying something now.
Guys, can you hear me?
Try again.
What about now? Marvel and DC are both bringing out multiverse movies, but will either of them live up to the promise of Chris Chan's? Nothing can live up to the promise of Chris Chan's dimensional merge. I'm hoping you guys can hear that.
Kenzie machine fixed. I don't know why it's been doing that.
Wonderful.
Actually, you know what did it the first time?
What?
You know what caused it the first time?
The
What?
Ice Age?
Logging on.
It sounds like this. The way you just asked it, it always sounded up. It sounded like the setup to what killed the dinosaurs.
Okay, no, I'm not going for something like that. But no, it was logging on to Twitch.
Fucking Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch just being.
But that also means that Cove missed my incredible useful advice of not going with the predator poof for his next haircut.
Yeah, Kenzie said, "Don't whatever you choose for your hair, don't go with the predator poof."
And you know what? I don't feel like explaining what that is again.
I figured Manny probably wasn't talking to himself, but there was a chance.
He just has a sock puppet next to him, but he didn't feel like doing a voice.
Wait, you mean you guys don't hear the voice? I mean, of course, what Kenzie said is correct.
All
Wait
right,
till.
let's guilt some people to get in here and then we'll start.
Yep, I posted on Discord. Better be with you soon.
I
Thank you.
did it.
Thank you very much. And we'll give it 3 more minutes and then we'll get started.
How's everyone else doing tonight?
Mr. Freeze, what killed the dinosaurs? God.
I fucking hate that movie. I've met people who've actually tried to defend that Arnold Schwarzenegger made a great Mr. Freeze, and to anyone who thinks that's true, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's. Hey. This Wednesday, like it is. Yes, it is.
Uma Thurman could have been a good Poison Ivy. They just made her look so fucking weird.
Well, in my opinion, that's just.
I meant like the costumes they gave her, the weird fucking hairstyles.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I meant too. Yes.
You're just an asshole.
I don't find her attractive, okay?
That's one thing. You're in the minority on that.
I think she looks weird. Arnold made a great Arnold, but not a great Mr. Freeze, if that makes sense.
No, Mike, it doesn't.
Batman and Robin is better than Shatman Never. I don't
That's
know.
a pun, jail.
All right, Raptor, go to punch him.
And now I'm upset.
Don't be
You know
upset.
what? No, I'm glad I can't stream tomorrow.
Oh, you hear that, Raptor? It's okay.
That was mean. I'm sorry.
We're having the He-Man Woman Haters Club anyway.
Just so you know, guys, I won't be able to make it to stream tomorrow. I'm going out with some friends who I haven't seen in a while.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I just remembered I planned to say that at the end of the stream. But yes, so tomorrow, yeah, with Kenzie not attending, uh, Raptor and I, and hopefully Kobe will be doing a completely based Bro King stream.
Mm-hmm.
No girls allowed. Well, I mean, no girls allowed in the call. They're allowed in the chat still.
You say that, but as soon as Gemma or someone shows up, you know Cove's gonna yell at him.
Yes. What I even said to Gemma, I told her about earlier. I was like, wait, but if Kobe calls in, you're probably just gonna like start talking in over his shoulder when we least expect it, aren't you?
Well, depending on how she's feeling, probably.
Yeah.
Sadly, Gemma cannot make it tonight. She is not feeling very well.
Sounds pretty hilarious. His mannerisms and jokes in that movie are pretty much on par for all the other 90s Arnold roles. I mean, yeah. Alright, so shall we get started? Alright. So this is Psychosis. Sunday.
Wait, I want to share the rating first, just because I've noticed for these dramatic readings, and I'll admit this, I've been pretty hard to please.
Uh-huh.
So this one is God. Why does that rating have to be what it is? Oh, 9.11 out of 10. So I have some high expectations.
Alright.
So if I'm disappointed, I'm gonna be so mad at you, Manny.
Oh, don't be mad at me, please.
You you're the one who makes these rosters.
Anyway, shall we go? Each of us will read 5 paragraphs.
Whatever.
Right. Sunday. I'm not sure why I'm writing this down on paper, not on my computer. I guess I've just noticed some odd things. It's not that I don't trust the computer. I just need to organize my thoughts. I need to get down all the details somewhere objective, somewhere I know that what I write can't be deleted or changed. Not that, not that it's happened. It's just everything blurs together here, and the fog of memory lends a strange cast to things. I'm starting to feel cramped in this small apartment. Maybe that's the problem. I just had to go and choose the cheapest apartment, the only one in the basement. The lack of windows down here makes day and night seem to slip by seamlessly. I haven't been out in a few days because I've been working on this programming project so intensively. I suppose I just wanted to get it done. Hours of sitting and staring at a monitor can make anyone feel strange. I know, but I don't think that's it. I'm not sure when I first started to feel like something was odd. I can't even define what it is. Maybe I just haven't talked to anyone in a while. That's the first thing that crept up on me. Everyone I normally talk to online while I program has been idle, or they've simply not logged on at all. My instant messages go unanswered. The last email I got from anybody was a friend saying he talked to me when he got back from the store. That was yesterday. I call with my cell phone, but reception's terrible down here. Yeah, that's it. I just need to call someone. I'm going to go outside. Well, that didn't work so well. As the tingle of fear fades, I'm feeling a little ridiculous for being scared at all. I looked in the mirror before I went out, but I didn't shave the 2 day stubble I'd grown. I figured I was just going out for a quick cell phone call. I did change my shirt, though, because it was lunchtime, and I guessed that I'd run into at least one person I knew. That didn't end up happening. I wish it did. When I went out, I opened the door to my small apartment slowly. A small feeling of apprehension had somehow already lodged itself in me, for some indefinable reason. I chalked up to having not spoken to anyone but myself for a day or two. I peered down the dingy gray hallway, made dingier by the fact that it was a basement hallway. On one end, a large metal door led to the building's furnace room. It was locked, of course. Two dirty soda machines stood by it. I bought a soda from one the first day I moved in, but it had a 2-year-old expiration date. I'm fairly sure nobody knows those machines are even down here, or my cheap landlady just doesn't care to get them restocked.
I closed my door softly and walked to the other direction, taking care not to make a sound. I have no idea why I chose to do that, but it was fun giving in to the strange impulse not to break the droning hum of soda machines, at least for the moment. I got to the stairwell and took the stairs up to the building's front door. I looked through the heavy door's small square window and received quite the shock. It was definitely not lunchtime. City gloom hung over the dark street outside, and the traffic lights at the intersection in the distance blinked yellow. Dim clouds, purple and black from the glow of the city, hung overhead. Nothing moved, save the few sidewalk trees that shifted in the wind. I remember shivering, though it wasn't cold. Maybe it was the wind outside. I could vaguely hear it through the heavy metal door, and I knew that it was that unique kind of late night wind, the kind that was constant, cold, and quiet, save for the rhythmic music it made as it passed through the countless unseen tree leaves. I decided not to go outside. Instead, I lifted my cell phone to the door's little window and checked the signal meter. The bars filled up the meter, and I smiled. Time to hear someone else's voice, I remember thinking, relieved. It was such a strange thing, to be afraid of nothing. I shook my head, laughing at myself silently. I hit speed dial for my best friend Amy's number and held the phone to my ear. It rang once, but then it stopped. Nothing happened. I listened to the silence for a good 20 seconds, then hung up. I frowned and looked at the signal meter again. Still full. I went to dial her number again, but then my phone rang in my hand, startling me. I put it up to my ear.
Hello?
I asked immediately, fighting down a small shock at hearing the first spoken voice in days, even if it was my own. I had gotten used to the droning hum of the building's inner workings, my computer, and the soda machines in the hallway. There was no response to my greeting at first, but then finally a voice came.
Hey,
Said a clear male voice, obviously of college age, like me.
who's this? John.
I replied, confused.
Oh, sorry, wrong number.
He replied, then hung up. I lowered the phone slowly and leaned against the thick brick wall of the stairwell. That was strange. I looked at my received calls list, but the number was unfamiliar. Before I could think on it further, the phone rang loudly, shocking me yet again. This time I looked at the caller before I answered. It was another unfamiliar number. This time I held the phone up to my ear but said nothing. I heard nothing but the general background noise of a phone. Then a familiar voice broke my tension. John? Was the single word in Amy's voice. I breathed a sigh of relief.
Hey, it's you.
Who
Very
else
soft.
would it be? She responded. Oh, the number. I'm at a party on 7th Street and my phone died just as you called me. This is someone else's phone, obviously,
Oh, okay.
I said. Where are you? She asked.
My eyes glanced over the drab whitewash cylinder, block walls, and the heavy metal door with its small window. At my building, I sighed, just feeling cooped up. I didn't realize it was so late,
You should come here.
she said, laughing. Nah, I don't feel like looking for some strange place by myself in the middle of the night, I said, looking out the window at the silent, windy street that secretly scared me just a tiny bit. I think I'm just going to keep working or go to bed,
Nonsense.
she replied.
I can come get you. Your building is close to 7th Street, right?
How drunk are you? I asked lightheartedly. You know where I live,
Oh, of course.
she said abruptly.
I guess I can't get there by walking, huh?
You could if you wanted to waste half an hour, I told her,
Right.
she said.
Okay, have to go. Good luck with your work.
I lowered the phone once more, looking at the numbers flash as the call ended. Then the droning silence suddenly reasserted itself in my ears. The two strange calls in the eerie street outside just drove home my aloneness in this empty stairwell. Perhaps from having seen too many scary movies, I had the sudden inexplicable idea that something could look in the door's window and see me. Some sort of horrible entity that hovered at the edge of aloneness, just waiting to creep up on unsuspecting people that strayed too far from other human beings. I knew the fear was irrational, but nobody else was around, so I jumped down the stairs, ran down the hallway into my room, and closed the door as swiftly as I could while still staying silent. Like I said, I feel a little ridiculous for being scared of nothing. The fear has already faded. Writing this down helps a lot. It makes me realize that nothing is wrong. It filters out half formed thoughts and fears and leaves only cold, hard facts. It's late. I got a call from a wrong number, and Amy's phone died. So she called me back from another number. Nothing strange is happening. Still, there was something a little off about that conversation. I know it could have just been the alcohol she'd had. Or was it even her that seemed off to me? Or was it? Yes, that was it. I didn't realize it until this moment, writing these things down. I knew writing things down would help. She said she was at a party, but I only heard silence in the background. Of course, that doesn't mean anything in particular, as she could have just gone outside to make a call. No, that couldn't be it either. I didn't hear the wind. I need to see if the wind is still blowing. And, hello, the father. Glad you could join us. Monday. I forgot to finish writing last night. I'm not sure what I expected to see when I ran up the stairwell and looked out the heavy metal door's window. I'm feeling ridiculous. Last night's fear seems hazy and unreasonable to me now. I can't wait to go out into the sunlight. I'm going to check my email, shave, shower, and finally get out of here. Wait, I think I heard something.
It was thunder. The whole sunlight and fresh air thing didn't happen. I went out into the stairwell and up the stairs only to find disappointment. The heavy metal door's little window showed only flowing water as torrential rain slammed against it. Only a very dim, gloomy light filtered in through the rain, but at least I knew it was daytime, even if it was a gray, sickly, wet day. I tried looking out the window and waiting for lighting to illuminate the gloom, but the rain was too heavy and I couldn't make out anything more than the vague, weird shapes moving at odd angles and the waves washing down the window. Disappointed, I turned around, but I didn't want to go back to my room. Instead, I wandered further up the stairs, past the first floor and the second. Stairs ended at the third floor, the highest floor in the building. I looked through the glass that ran up the outer wall of the stairwell, but it was that warped, thick kind that scatters the light. Not that there was much to see through the rain to begin with. I opened the stairwell door and wandered down the hallway. The 10 or so thick wooden doors painted blue a long time ago were all closed. I listened as I walked, but it was the middle of the day, so I wasn't surprised that I heard nothing but the rain outside. As I stood there in the dim hallway, listening to the rain, I had the strange, fleeting impression that the doors were standing like the silent granite monoliths erected by some ancient, forgotten civilization for some unfathomable guardian purpose. Lightning flashed, and I could have sworn that, for just a moment, the old, grainy blue wood looked just like rough stone. I laughed at myself for letting my imagination get the best of me. But then it occurred to me that the dim gloom and lightning must mean there was a window somewhere in the hallway. A vague memory surfaced, and I suddenly recalled that the third floor had an alcove and an inset window halfway down the floor's hallway. Excited to look out into the rain and possibly see another human being, I quickly walked over to the alcove, finding the large thin glass window. Rain washed down it as the front door's window, but I could open this one. I reached a hand out to slide it open, but hesitated. It had the strangest feeling that if I opened the window, I would see something absolutely horrifying on the other side. Everything's been so odd lately. So I came up with a plan, and I came back here to get what I needed. I don't seriously think anything will come of it, but I'm bored, so it's raining, and I'm going stir crazy. I came back to get my webcam. The cord isn't long enough to reach the third floor by any means, So instead, I'm going to hide it in between the two soda machines in the dark end of my basement hallway, run the wire along the wall and under my door, and put black duct tape over the wire to bend it in with the black plastic strip that runs along the base of the hallway's walls. I know this is silly, but I don't have anything better to do. Well, nothing happened. I propped open the hallway to stairwell door, steeled myself, then flung the heavy door wide open and ran like hell down the stairs to my room and slammed the door. I watched the webcam on my computer intently, sitting in the hallway outside my door and most of the stairwell. I'm watching it right now, and I don't see anything interesting. I just wish the camera's position was different, so that I could see out the front door. Hey, somebody's online.
Hello, it's glad you joined us. I got out an older, less functional webcam that I had in my closet to video chat with my friend online. I couldn't really explain to him why I wanted to video chat, but it felt good to see another person's face. We couldn't talk very long, and we didn't talk about anything meaningful, but I feel much better. My strange fear had almost passed. I would feel completely better, but there was something odd about our conversation. I know that what I've said that I know that I've said that everything has seemed odd, but still, he was very vague in his responses. I don't recall one specific thing that he said, no particular name or place or event, but he did ask for my email address to keep in touch. Wait, I just got an email. I'm about to go out. Just got an email from Amy that asked me to meet her for dinner at the place we usually go to. I do love pizza, and I've just been eating random food from my poorly stocked fridge for days, so I can't wait. Again, I feel ridiculous about the odd couple of days I've been having. I should destroy this journal when I get back. Oh, another email. Oh my god. I almost left the email and opened the door. I almost opened the door. I almost opened the door, but I read the email first. It was from a friend I hadn't heard from in a long time, and it was sent to a huge number of emails that must have been every person he had saved in his address list. It had, it had no subject, and it said simply, "Seen with your own eyes, don't trust them, they." What the hell was that supposed to mean? Words shock me, and I keep going over and over them. Is it a desperate email sent just as something happened? Words are obviously cut off without finishing. On any other day, I would have dismissed this as spam from a computer virus or something, but the words, "seen with your own eyes." I can't help but read over this journal, think back on the last few days, and realize that I've not seen another person with my own eyes or talked to another person face to face. Webcam conversation with my friend was so strange, so vague, so eerie, now that I think about it. Was it eerie? Or is the fear clouding my memory? My mind toys with the progression of events I've written here, pointing out that I've not been presented with one single fact that I did not specifically give out unsuspectingly. The random wrong number that got my name, the subsequent strange return call from Amy, the friend that asked for my email address. I messaged him first when I saw him online, and then I got my first email a few minutes after that conversation. Oh my god, that phone call with Amy. I said over the phone. I said that I was within half an hour's walk of 7th Street. They know I'm near there. What if they're trying to find me? Where is everyone else? Why haven't I seen or heard anyone else in days? No, no, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I need to calm down. This madness needs to end.
I don't know what to think. I ran about my apartment furiously, holding my cell phone up to every corner to see if it got a signal through the heavy walls. Finally, in the tiny bathroom, near one ceiling corner, I got a single bar. Holding my phone there, I sent a text message to every number in my list. Not wanting to betray anything about my unfounded fears, I simply said, "Have you seen anyone face to face lately?" At that point, I just wanted to reply back. I didn't care what the reply was, or or if I embarrassed myself. I tried to call someone a few times, but I couldn't get my head up high enough, and if I brought my cell phone down even an inch, it lost signal. Then I remembered the computer and rushed over to it. instant messaging everyone online. Most were idle or away from their computer. Nobody responded. My messages grew more frantic, and I started telling people where I was and to stop by in person for a host of barely passable reasons. I didn't care about anything by that point. I just needed to see another person. As I tore apart my apartment looking for something that I might have missed, some way to contact another human being without opening the door. I know it's crazy. I know it's unfounded, but what if? What if? I just need to be sure. I taped the phone to the ceiling in case. Tuesday. The phone rang. Exhausted from last night's rampage, I must have fallen asleep. I woke up to the phone ringing and ran into the bathroom, stood on the toilet, and flipped open the phone taped to the ceiling. It was Amy, and I feel so much better. She was really worried about me and apparently had been trying to contact me since the last time I talked to her. She's coming over now, and yes, she knows where I am without me telling her. I feel so embarrassed. I'm definitely throwing this journal away before anyone sees it. I don't even know why I'm writing in it now. Maybe it's just because it's the only communication I've had at all since God knows when. I look like hell, too. I looked in the mirror before I came back in here. My eyes are sunken, my stubble's thicker, and I just look generally unhealthy. My apartment is trash, but I know I'm not going to clean it up. I think I need someone else to see what I've been going through. These past few days have not been normal. I am not one to imagine things. I know I have been the victim of extreme probability. I probably missed seeing another person a dozen times. I just happened to go out when it was late at night or the middle of the day when everyone was gone. Everything is perfectly fine. I know this now. Plus, I found something in the closet last night that helped me tremendously. A television. I set it up just before I wrote this, and it's on in the background. Television always has been an escape for me, and it reminds me why there's a world beyond these dingy brick walls. I'm glad Amy's the only one that responded to me after last night's frantic pestering of everyone I could contact. She's been my best friend for years. She doesn't know it, but I count the day that I met her among one of the few moments of true happiness in my life. I remember that warm summer day fondly. It seems a different reality from this dark, rainy, lonely place. I feel like I spent days sitting in that playground, much too old to play, just talking with her and hanging around doing nothing at all. I still feel like I can go back to that moment sometimes, and it reminds me that this damn place is not all that there is. Finally, a knock at the door.
I thought it was odd that I couldn't see her through the camera I hid between the two soda machines. I figured that it was bad positioning, like when I couldn't see out the front door. I should have known. I should have known. After the knock, I yelled through the door jokingly that I had a camera between the soda machines because I was embarrassed myself that I had taken this paranoia so far. After I did that, I saw her image walk over the camera and look down at it. She smiled and waved.
I said it.
I didn't hear you.
Hey!
She said to the camera brightly, giving it a wry look. It's weird, I know. I said into the mic attached to my computer. I've had a weird few days,
Must have.
she replied.
Open the door, John.
I hesitated. How could I be sure? Hey, humor me a second here, I told her through the mic. Tell me one thing about us. Just prove to me you're you. She gave the camera a weird look.
All right.
She said slowly, thinking.
We met randomly at a playground when we were both way too old to be there?
I sighed deeply as reality returned and fear faded. God, I'd been so ridiculous. Of course it was Amy. That day wasn't anywhere in the world except in my memory. I never even mentioned it to anyone, not out of embarrassment, but out of a strange secret nostalgia and a longing for those days to return. There was some unknown force at work trying to trick me, as I feared. There was no way they could know about that day. All right, I'll explain everything. Be right there. I ran to my small bathroom and fixed my hair as best I could. I looked like hell, but she would understand. Snickering at my own unbelievable behavior and the mess I made of the place, I walked to the door, put my hand on the doorknob, and gave the mess one last look. So ridiculous, I thought. My eyes traced over the half-eaten food lying on the ground, the overflowing trash bin, and the bed I tipped to the side looking for God knows what. I almost turned to the door and opened it. My eyes fell on one last thing. The old webcam, the one I used for that yearly vacant chat with my friend. The silent black sphere lay haphazardly tossed to the side, its lens pointed at the table where this journal lay. An overwhelming terror took me as I realized that if something could see through that camera, it would have seen what I just wrote about that day. I asked her for any one thing about us, and she chose the only thing in the world that I thought they did her they I thought they or it did not know, but it did. It did know. It could have been watching me the whole time. I didn't open the door.
I oh.
I screamed. I screamed in uncontrollable terror. I stomped on the old webcam on the floor. The door shook and the doorknob tried to turn, but I didn't hear Amy's voice at the door. Was the basement door made to keep out drafts too thick? Or was Amy not outside? What could have been trying to get in, if not her? What the hell is out there? I saw her on my computer through the camera outside. I heard her on the speakers through the camera outside. But was it real? How can I know? She's gone now. I screamed and shouted for help. I piled up everything in my apartment against the front door.
Friday. At least I think that it's Friday. I broke everything electronic. I smashed my computer to pieces. Every single thing on there could have been accessed by network access or worse, altered. I'm a programmer, I know. Every little piece of information I gave out since this started, my name, my email, my location, none of it came back from the outside until I gave it out. I've been going over and over what I wrote. I've been pacing back and forth, alternating between stark terror and overpowering disbelief. Sometimes I'm absolutely certain some phantom entity is dead set on the simple goal of getting me to go outside. Back to the beginning, with the cell phone call from Amy, she was effectively asking me to open the door and go outside. I keep running through it in my head. One point of view says I've acted like a madman, and all of this is extreme convergence of probability. Never going outside at the right times by pure luck, never seeing another person by pure chance, getting a random nonsense email from some computer virus at just the right time. The other point of view says that extreme convergence of probability is the reason that whatever's out there hasn't gotten to me already. I keep thinking, I never opened the window on the third floor. I never opened the front door until that incredibly stupid stunt with the hidden camera, after which I ran straight to my room and slammed the door. I haven't opened my own solid door since I flung open the front door of the building. Whatever's out there, if anything's out there, never made an appearance in the building before I opened the front door. Maybe the reason it wasn't in the building already was that it was elsewhere getting everyone else. And then it waited until I betrayed my existence by trying to call Amy, a call which didn't work until it called me and asked me my name. Terror literally overwhelms me every time I try to fit the pieces of this nightmare together. That email, short, cut off. Was it from someone trying to get a word out? Some friendly voice desperately trying to warn me before it came? Seen with my own eyes, don't trust them. Exactly what I've been so suspicious of. It could have masterful control of all things electronic, practicing its insidious deception to trick me into coming outside. Why can't it get in? It knocked on the door. It must have some solid presence. The door, the image of those doors in the upper hallway as guardian monoliths flashes back in my mind every time I trace this path of thoughts. There is some phantom entity trying to get me to go outside. Maybe it can't get through doors. I keep thinking back over all the books I've read or movies I've seen, trying to generate some explanation for this. Doors have always been such intense foci of human imagination. always seen as wards or portals of special importance. Or perhaps the door is just too thick. I know that I couldn't bash through any of the doors in this building, let alone the heavy basement ones. Aside from that, the real question is, why does it even want me? If it just wanted to kill me, it could do it in any number of ways, including just waiting until I starve to death. What if it doesn't want to kill me? What if it has some fear of some horrific fate in store for me? God, what can I do to escape this nightmare? A knock at the door. I told the people on the other side of the door I need a minute to think and I'll come out. I'm really just writing this down so I can figure out what to do. At least this time I heard their voices. My paranoia, and yes, I recognize I'm being paranoid, has me thinking of all sorts of ways that their voices could be faked electronically. There could be nothing but speakers outside, simulating human voices. Did it really take them 3 days to come talk to me? Amy is supposedly out there, along with 2 policemen and a psychiatrist. Maybe it took them 3 days to think of what to say to me. The psychiatrists claim it could be pretty convincing if I decided to think this all had been some crazy misunderstanding, not some entity trying to trick me into opening the door. The psychiatrist had an older voice, authoritarian, but still caring. I liked it. I'm desperate just to see someone with my own eyes. He said I have something called cyber psychosis, and I'm just one of a nationwide epidemic of thousands of people having breakdowns triggered by a suggestive email that got through somehow. I swear he said got through somehow. I think he means spread throughout the country inexplicably, but I'm incredibly suspicious of the entity slipped up and revealed something. He said I'm a part of a wave of emergent behavior, that a lot of other people are having the same problem with the same fears, even though we've never communicated.
That neatly explains the strange email about eyes that I got. I didn't get the original triggering email. I got a descendant of it. My friend could have broken down too, and tried to warn everyone he knew against his paranoid fears. That's how the problem spreads, the psychiatrist claims. I could have spread it too, with my texts and instant messages, online to everybody I know. One of those people might be melting down right now after being triggered by something I sent them, something they might interpret any way that they want, something like a text saying, "Seen anyone face to face lately?" The psychiatrist told me that he didn't want to lose another one, that people like me are intelligent, and that's our downfall. We draw connections so well that we draw them even when they shouldn't be there. He said it's easy to get caught up in paranoia in our fast paced world, constantly changing place where more and more of our interaction is simulated. I have to give him one thing. It's a great explanation. It neatly explains everything. It perfectly explains everything, in fact. I have every reason to shake off this nightmarish fear that something or consciousness or being out there wants me to open the door so it can capture me from some horrible fate worse than death. It would be foolish, after hearing that explanation, to stay in here until I starve to death, just to spite the entity that might have got everyone else. It would be foolish to think that, after hearing that explanation, I might be one of the last people left alive on an empty world, hiding in my secure basement room, fighting some unthinkable deceptive entity just by refusing to be captured. It's a perfect explanation for every single strange thing I've seen or heard, and I have every reason in the world to let all of my fears go and open the door. That's exactly why I'm not going to. How can I be sure? How can I know what's real and what's deception? All of these damn things with their wires and their signals that originate from some unseen origin. They're not real. I can't be sure. Signals through a camera, faked video, deceptive phone calls, emails, even the television lying broken on the floor. How can I possibly know it's real? It's just signals, waves, light. The door. It's bashing on the door. It's trying to get in. What insane mechanical contrivance could it be using to simulate the sound of men attacking the heavy wood so well? At least I'll finally see it with my own eyes. There's nothing left in here for it to deceive me with. I've ripped apart everything else. I can't deceive my eyes. It can't deceive my eyes, can it? See it with your own eyes, don't trust them, they. Wait, was that desperate message telling me to trust my eyes or warning me about my eyes, too? Oh my god, what's the difference between a camera and my eyes? They both turn light into electrical signals. They're the same. I can't be deceived. I have to be sure. I have to be sure. Date unknown. I calmly asked for paper and a pen, day in and day out, until it finally gave them. Not that it matters. What am I going to do? Put my eyes out? Bandages feel like part of me now. Pain is gone. Fear this will be one of my last chances to write legibly, as, without my sight to correct mistakes, my hands will slowly forget the motions involved. It's a sort of self-indulgence, this writing. It's a relic of another time, because I'm certain everyone left in the world is dead. Something far worse.
I sit against the padded wall day in and day out. The entity brings me food and water. It masks itself as a kind nurse, as an unsympathetic doctor. I think it knows that my hearing has sharpened considerably now that I live in darkness. It fakes conversations in the hallway, on the off chance that I might overhear. One of the nurses talks about having a baby soon. One of the doctors lost his wife in a car accident. None of it matters. None of it's real. None of it gets to me. Not like she does. That's the worst part, the part that I almost can't handle. The thing comes to me, masquerading as Amy. Its recreation is perfect. It sounds exactly like Amy, feels exactly like her. It even produces a reasonable facsimile of tears that it makes me feel like on its lifelike cheeks. When it first dragged me here, it told me all the things I wanted to hear. It told me that she loved me, that she had always loved me, that it didn't understand why I did this, that we could still have a life together, if only I would stop insisting that I was being deceived. It wanted me to believe. No, it needed to believe that she was real. I almost fell for it. I really did. I doubted myself for the longest time. In the end, though, it was all too perfect, too flawless, and too real. The false Amy used to come every day, and then every week, and finally stopped coming altogether. But I don't think the entity will give up. I think the waiting game is just another one of its gambits. I will resist it for the rest of my life, if I have to. I don't know what happened to the rest of the world, but I do know that this thing needs me to fall for its deceptions. If it needs that, then maybe, just maybe, I'm a thorn in its agenda. Maybe Amy is still alive out there somewhere, kept alive only by my will to resist the deceiver. I hold on to that hope, rocking back and forth in my cell to pass the time. I will never give in. I will never break. I am a hero. The doctor read the paper the patient had scribbled on. It was barely readable, written in the shaky script of one who could not see. He wanted to smile at the man's steadfast resolve, a reminder of the human will to survive, but he knew that the patient was completely delusional. After all, a sane man would have fallen for the deception a long time ago. The doctor wanted to smile. He wanted to whisper words of encouragement to the delusional man. He wanted to scream, but the nerve filaments wrapped around his head and into his eyes made him do otherwise. His body walked into the cell like a puppet and told the patient, once more, that he was wrong and that there was nobody trying to deceive him.
Alright, and that's the end. So, Ken's, what did you think?
Hang on, I just have to, because after there's a little picture of, I guess maybe of another thing called Psychosis, and then it says, more classic creepypasta stories can be found here. Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, and the Russian Sleep Experiment. Piss off.
Yeah.
Like those, get on, like those are on the same level.
I mean, I consider Slender Man good, but the other two.
But Slender Man, okay, Slender Man is not a creepypasta. It was a
Correct.
Photoshop picture contest winner from a something awful forum.
It also had a short story attached, but yeah, what you're saying is correct, though.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked it. I think this is definitely my favorite we've read so far. And again, because and this is teacher brain, almost teacher brain, but there's stuff that I think could be improved, but that comes with, you're and I think that's what I've come to just final not accept, but like I come to expect. Like I need to remind myself that these aren't, you know, professional books that I'm reading. This is just the creepypasta wiki, and this is really good.
Yeah,
And that there's some stuff I would change that I think would make it excellent.
cool. I mean, any examples you want to give, or just
Like I think I obviously understand now why they probably did, but I thought, you know, the characters writing this even after they've clawed their eyes out, I think what would be more I think there could be like an attempt to do it, but maybe he only got to one or something. I thought that was the fact that he was blind but still managed to write was kind of just a bit of a stretch.
yeah, I agree.
Um, I also don't. I understand the twist, and I think in general, I think it's gray. Fine, if you want to reveal that he was right all along, fine. But I just personally don't like when it's going from one point of view or from third or first person to third person.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's just a personal thing of mine. I don't like switching like that.
No, I agree. I feel the same way.
But other than that, good use of tense. It got a bit repetitive with him going back and forth of, oh, I'm feeling ridiculous and I feel so much better, and then immediately shifting back.
Yeah,
But again, just a little tweaking and could have been excellent, but I think it's really, really good.
oh, I'm glad.
Like this is my favorite we've done after Pen Pal.
Excellent. Yeah, Raptor says that was pretty interesting. Mike says, would you rate it inside job out of 10? Yes, I would.
Sure, sure, Mike.
And Mike said earlier, I didn't care. I just needed to see another person. Yeah, thanks to COVID, this story aged like wine.
Yeah, I saw that. I could try. I had to cover my mouth from laughing because I didn't. Because again, dramatic reading. If you see my response to Mike when he
Yeah.
made a simp joke.
Oh, yeah, we out here simping for Amy. And, Raptor, it's probably a Jehovah's Witness. Don't open the door. Yeah, see, these are the lengths that the Jehovah's Witnesses go to these days to talk to people. Try to get you to open the door.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
You just hear them whispering, did you send the email? Yeah. Wait, which one? I thought you sent it.
Should we read the comments?
Yes. Okay, so we got Green Apple, who is agreeing with the story being good, but I'm sorry I need to use this voice just because of how ridiculously worded his comment is. Amazing story! The ending really gives you a sense of, whoa! Words can barely express how much I love this pasta.
See, I thought you were going to do Keanu Reeves because of, whoa,
Damn, I should have.
missed opportunity.
I'm okay. Self-flagellation time to make up for this.
All right, the next comment from a user whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce because that would probably be offensive.
Did you just swallow?
This is such a great story that last 21 minutes felt like moments. You must read very slowly.
Yeah.
The story has been very, very accurately written. No loopholes or errors, or at least not noticeable by the average person. I mean,
By the
yeah, the ending is kind of a loophole where you could have just kept it vague and be like, is he just mentally ill or is something going on, where the writer does just confirm it, which fine. I don't hate it like I probably would with a much worse written story. but
Yeah,
it is like an out.
yeah, it is.
This was one of the best creepypasta I've ever read. I won't disagree with that. I want to thank the writer for writing it, and please write more. I would love to read more from you. Thank you. All right, you know what? I can agree with the last um 3 sentences.
Yeah. Although I actually, it says thanks you at the end. Eh,
Look, if I'm going by, if we're gonna go, if we're under the impression that this person's username is their actual full name, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say English is probably not their first language.
Oh no, the thing is though, I remember there was a time where it seemed that was the popular thing to do. Like some cutesy, like thanks you, like like.
This was written in 2020 and never talk like
But
that again.
that's the thing, though. I'm saying, like, are there really some people out there still doing that? I'm hoping it's an English not being a first language thing.
I don't think that was ever a thing. I think you are being a boomer.
I think it was. Let's see.
Father, whoa, it was accurately written.
Yes, Father, this is nonfiction. I mean, what? Nah, totally fiction. Uh,
Waffle Con. This is one of the best old age creepypastas I have ever read. The story sets a great mood of paranoia that you don't get with these more famous older creepypastas. Not totally wrong. Stories should be more like this as they capitalize on one premise, one fear, and feast on it, creating a great environment for the reader. You know what? Fair.
yeah.
Good job, WaffleCon.
Okay, we're gonna skip the next comment because I'm not reading out that username.
Bloody Lustful 66. I like the fact that you
God
could
damn it.
read this at any year and it would feel modern. Fair.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, this was written all the way back in 2010.
Yeah. You want to read Mike's comment there?
Nope.
All right. Thanks,
No,
you
if you read it, I will
Olo.
break your kneecaps.
Well, I guess I'm about to turn around and see you with a lead pipe. Painful Memories says the story gave me serious serial experiments lane vibes. Weeb! Well written with an
I
accurate
don't get
thought
the
process.
reference.
Serial Experiments Lane was an anime about like a girl going paranoid, thinking that like she gets into computers and then like starts seeing like Matrix-esque like government agents following her, but starts wondering if they're even real.
So, Empress Teresa, if actually written well.
Pretty much, yeah.
Was it any good?
It was decent. Well, actually, I have a funny story about
I mean,
when
it
I
could have served as like an inspiration for. Well, when did it come out? Do you know? Because this was written in 2010.
I was Lane was probably like 2001, 2002.
So early 2000s. So it
Yeah,
could have served as an inspiration. It's not impossible.
true. Although, funny story about the first time I watched it, I was at a friend's house, and her sister was upstairs uh, practicing her flute for her band class.
Mm-hmm.
And now the show does have some like very atmospheric, like weird music.
Mm-hmm.
After we watched it, we were like, yeah, that's pretty good. And our one friend goes, yeah, it was, but what was with that weird flute music? And we were like, are, are you serious?
So she thought it was the TV when it was her sister.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh, okay, here's the thing, though. Yeah, I really have nothing against painful memories here. Like, I agree that Layton probably was an inspiration, like you said. Uh,
I
but
mean, it's always a possibility.
but the thing is, though, written with an accurate thought. What is this accurate thing that people keep bringing up? Because Aditya said that as well.
Um,
Do they
What
mean
I'm going to
realistic?
assume they mean is that they're probably assuming, because and I'm just going to assume that they're also assuming, for all I know, maybe some of them have experienced psychosis before, but I think they're all thinking, wow, this is really accurate for mental illness related pasta. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely not what we're going to encounter in the mental illness tab of the Save the Creepypasta wiki, but
Yeah.
and so I'm not going to pretend I know much about what psychosis is, but I will just say that I think it was a very well written story from that does well in instilling paranoia.
Yeah. F in the chat for Manny's kneecaps. Uh, Hackeress Teresa. But Norman Bouton said he could write Empress Teresa for 20-year-olds. Could it be that Norman is lying? I think it could be Raptor. Or that he's just delusional.
Did he say he wrote it for 20-year-olds?
I think I think he did. I I know he's made claims that it's like supposed to be a perfectly like mature story for adults to read and take seriously.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if he ever specified 20-year-olds, but uh,
See, let's just operate under the assumption for now that he's taking like the Pixar route where he's like, I don't write books for children, I write books for families
yeah.
that everyone can enjoy.
Oh, for 20 years, not 20-year-olds. Oh,
Oh, okay.
it's okay, Kenzie. That was a simple mistake that
Yeah, that you made.
you made. uh, see,
He
my
made for
heart.
20 years, but had to wait for Wattpad to become a thing.
Yeah, definitely my favorite creepypasta. My heart was pounding the whole way through. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
No, yeah.
it has some eerie vibes. But that's why I like about it. It doesn't make you like. It's not like, oh my god, so scary. It's like, yeah, that's pretty unsettling. Uh,
Um,
I'm trying to
okay,
stop.
here.
I'm trying to skip the ones that are just like, oh my god, so
Yeah, I
good.
found one. May I?
Yeah,
Oh, can I do these two? I'm gonna cover two.
sure thing.
So one from Thornberry 999. That plot twist changes everything from a depressing story about a man going insane due to his own irrational fears to the story of nearly everyone in the world relying on him to stay away from the trap set by a creature that would kill nearly everyone else. I love the thought that this means that characters like Amy who are being controlled by the creature are actually literally being kept alive by his will to stay alive, as it would just discard them if he gave in to its deception. Also, they would be so proud to see him figure it out its way of defeating him, like he when he discovers it's not her, or the biggest example of him stabbing his eyes, which if he didn't would have most likely ended with him being controlled, and makes it surprisingly one of the most badass creepypastas in the end when you realize that commas when you realize thanks to his paranoia he saved the ones he loved, even though it's just consciously there could be a way to save him. But okay, we get it.
You had a real Toby moment, like, commas, where have you been all this time?
We got another one after this. This went quite deep. That I
That's what
that's
she said.
debatable. That's debatable. This story simulates an exaggerated trait of the consciousness. Oh god, this is gonna get pretentious, isn't it?
Yes.
Look, purple fish. I like this story too, but it's not that deep.
Yeah.
It was a classic game of, is he insane or is he right? And then the twist makes it so that he's right. The
Yes.
story simulates an exaggerated trait of the consciousness in which the mind plays a game on itself by coming up with many different scenarios based on the information given. These scenarios together come up with a theory that within the moment of brainstorming seem true. These scenarios, whether realistic or implausible, tend to trigger emotions to the person of that mind. Unlike the story, the insanity usually ends when you realize you've just come up with a bunch of far fetched possibilities and think logically about the solid facts. But this creepypasta takes this strategic trait to a different level. Psychosis takes the paranoia trait of the mind to such a great depth that it questions the state of reality. This piece of writing relates to people like me who sometimes come up with many possibilities or solutions to our problems that can affect us. Another thing that about this creepypasta that is interesting is how this shift from thinking of oneself to be crazy to completely trusting their own theories after so much time passing by begs a question. Are the external forces attempting to deceive us, or is our own mind trying to deceive us? At the end of the day, our minds and thoughts are the most rooted things in mystery. Wow.
Someone thinks they're very intelligent.
You you sure did take that introduction to psychology in college, the purple fish.
Yeah,
We're proud of you.
yeah. You were in that. You were in that course for one semester. Although
Well, it only lasts one semester. It's introduction to psychology.
I would guess though.
That was a requirement I had to take.
Oh, jeez. I
I
would
think
guess
that was
though.
just a requirement of
That,
the school that everyone had to take intro to psych.
huh. Interesting. My guess though is that purple fish wrote that comment after the first day of class. Like, oh,
No, they probably had to sit through the psychosis and paranoia thoughts of it first.
sure. This guy sure watches Rick and Morty. Reddit moment. Yeah, you can just hear the fedora in that comment.
Hmm. Olive Magnet. Oh man, I remember reading this story or reading this years ago. Didn't quite survive the test of time, but still a decent piece of work.
What do you mean survive the test of time? It's still here.
I think
Yeah,
the only way it wouldn't work, the only part that didn't age well is that joke that Mike made. Oh, thanks, COVID.
yeah. I think what they're trying to say is it doesn't still stand up. I mean, as you pointed out, it does. As another comment,
Yeah,
like
like
like the technology from the time it was written, the technology now, no, it still works. Like it's things are still similar enough.
yeah, it's he just mentions computers. He suggests that it's a flip phone, but you can still work a flip phone just fine. It's
Yeah,
not egregious like Jeff the Killer pulled out his iPhone.
yeah, but yeah, a buddy of mine still uses a flip phone. All right, hold
Yeah.
on. I have to do it even to myself. Um, yeah, didn't survive the test of time. Yeah, surviving the test of time means that it would be gone. Well, this creepypasta
Well, I
knows.
think that can also mean like, oh, it just didn't age well. But also, I think this person is wrong in that regard. It's not, someone trying to be hip by making a bunch of pop culture references.
Yeah, it's like I was going insane. Good thing I had Game of Thrones to keep me grounded.
Uh-huh.
It's like, hey, anyone else watching that? How
Or,
about
it was incredibly emo, clearly written in the early 2000s when that was still a cool thing and not something to be looked up back on with shame.
yeah? Uh,
Like,
we,
I know we make fun of the bad creepypasta wiki a lot, but I am incredibly hopeful that the people who wrote them would look back on that and be like, well, That was a time in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I am fully confident in that.
I even remember there was one where like the BCP crew were looking at comments, and the one was just from the author themselves saying, like, it's been 3 years, and I'm looking back and thinking, what the fuck did I write?
When was this?
I can't remember which one that was.
Oh, I don't remember that. But
Okay,
good for them.
yeah. Geneva Burkham says, spooky and pretty scary for me. I give this a 10 out of 10. Smiley with star shaped eyes.
Yeah, I
Well,
was gonna say that's stars.
with someone as like Bleeding Eyes Sonic as their avatar, that's
Oh
the kind of comment
boy.
I expect. That's the level of intelligence I expect from someone like that. Devil 977 just says in all caps, story, and apparently that's an edited comment.
Indeed it is.
Uh,
Here, one God, this is what's wrong with the Bad Creepypasta. Again, it is if it's a circle jerk, you just get nothing but downvotes. So this one guy, Sarush, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the last name, said, not bad, I did not like its end. That's
yes,
fair. It's in a different tone, it's a completely different point of view, and it just takes the ambiguity out of it. He's allowed not to like it, and you know what? There.
yep,
Sarush, if you're out there, I liked your comment. It's a good story, but yeah, the ending was a little bit of a cop out.
yeah, definitely.
So Sarush, you have a one upvote. And again, so here we have oh god, that I can't tell if this person just changed their name to be ironic. COVID Baduri.
It's well. To be fair, it looks like there are a lot of I'm guessing Indian names here.
This was fucking beautiful, man. You're a great writer. Maybe a better ending though. That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
But again, 4 upvotes, 3 downvotes. Like, you don't have to keep sucking the writer's dick.
I'm sorry to stop. Mike says, "Hear that, Sarush? Kenzie gives you the permission to have an opinion."
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, Mike. Thank you. I'm pretty much telling everyone else then to let Sir poor Sarush have an opinion.
The father misspelled story the first time. That is pretty sad. Uh, Orange Dice, best creepypasta ever, even though I only read three.
Even though I only read 3. Okay.
This would make a great Black Mirror episode. Okay, I
Eh,
know that was from 2017, but I've seen a lot of comments from around that time for creepypastas. They're like, "Oh my god, this should be Black Mirror."
because it all because everything that has to do with tech can totally be an episode of Black Mirror.
You know, Kenzie stands Sarush. Oh god, just there's something every stream that
Here's a fair one from a guest. It obviously doesn't have their own account. I like this a lot. Okay, wrong spelling for though. I would have liked for him to just be crazy. I think it was a great pasta anyway.
yeah, there.
Yeah. Oh god, I found a weeb. I read it with Light Yagami's voice and it added more
No,
thrill to it. Colon D.
and I like them though, and I'm telling them to shut the fuck up.
No, you didn't do it to add a thrill to it. You did it because you're a weeb.
Yeah. Oh, and I meant to say though, like you read the comment that said like this is so deep. It's like like I'm a fan of My Hero Academia, But I hate when there are fans who are like, they say that every fight in the show is iconic. Like, no, most of these are just like, oh, look, action time. Like, just because you like something doesn't mean that it's like the best ever.
Hmm.
Raptor says, my life should be Black Mirror episode. Like says, Mirror of Color, please. Basketball American Mirror. Where did you see the one about weed?
It was, it was a guest, so you're gonna have to
Yeah.
just look
Well,
for the stupid emoticon, not the name.
speaking of guests, why is it so long? I'm not even gonna justify that with my usual joke, but this was not a long one.
Okay, this is what is it about? I don't have time to read it. Thank you in advance. Then why are you here?
What? Why would you even say this? Oh, some people just want attention. Am I the only one who found the storyboard? Yes.
Hmm.
Gold Pumpkin says lit ting.
Yep.
I like the story.
This is the best pasta I've read with Charles Bonnet or Bonnet, I don't know, syndrome coming in a close second. What's that?
I have no idea.
I mean, we've only been streaming for a little over an hour.
Yeah.
Should we look into it?
Uh, yeah, sure.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll find another gem, maybe, and maybe we'll have something to riff on.
How do you spell
Either way,
the bonnet or
we'll say Bonnet.
how do you spell it?
Bonnet.
Okay, here, Charles Bonnet. Um, it looks like it's about the same length.
Alright. Alright, well, you want me to start it off?
Yes, please.
Alright, guys, we have a surprise pasta. Well,
I was trying to think of
Charles,
like a sound effect like that.
yeah,
I
we
dropped
have
the
a
ball.
surprise pasta. We are going to, and please enjoy the dramatic reading of Charles Bonnet Syndrome.
Dun, 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 dun.
I am reading. I suffer from a condition called Charles Bonnet Syndrome, or visual release hallucinations if you want to get more technical. It's a condition that's far more common than you might realize. It's estimated that as many as half of people with gradual loss of vision will experience one or more bouts over their lifetime. Yet I'm willing to bet that most of you have never heard of it. The reason for that is because most sufferers are scared to tell anybody what we experience. I know I was. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Andrew and I'm 26. 2 years ago, I woke up with awful blurred vision. Every single edge and detail clouded as if somebody had smeared Vaseline on a camera lens. It never got better. I was scared then and got over to Dr. Harper's surgery as fast as I could, suddenly needing to take a cab rather than climb in the car I'd driven without incident ever since I bought it 3 years prior. Doctor did some tests, asked me some questions. Have you been thirstier lately? How often do you urinate? Do you describe your tiredness levels? And then
Uh,
gave me.
one sec, guys. Because you always say something, I'm going to be turning off the screen for a moment. Oh wait, no, I can't do that. Never mind. Continue.
and then gave me the diagnosis that changed my life forever. Diabetes. Type 1. He explained that I would need to take insulin shots with every meal, that eating the wrong foods without monitoring my blood sugar could see me drop into a coma, or worse. And then he got to my eyes. You can take it.
Go just a bit more.
Okay. Andrew, your diabetes has resulted in maculopathy. Do you know what that is? I shook my head dumbly, already reeling with the shock of my diagnosis, and Dr. Harper went on. It's when the diabetes affects the blood vessels at the back of your eye, blocking them and causing them to leak into the macula. How would you pronounce that? Macula?
Maculopathy. Yeah, macula. That's what I'd say.
The central part of the retina that helps you perceive color and fine detail. When these blood vessels leak into the macula, it can cause significant damage. With a lump in my throat, I asked, "Okay,
so how do we make this better?"
I couldn't see Harper's face properly when he spoke, but his tone of voice was enough to tell me that what I'd been dreading. "I'm sorry, Andrew," he replied gravely. "Perhaps if we caught this a little sooner, we might have had some treatment options available to us. But I'm afraid the damage has been pretty extensive. We can take steps to arrest the development of the condition, but I'm afraid it's irreversible." I felt as if my world had come crashing down around me. I was just 24, still at my physical peak. I was active, playing basketball and cycling a couple of times a week. And now my health, my body, and my sight had been taken from me. You still want me to keep going?
I can take over. Yeah, I put a picture of Charles Bonnet on the screen. The first 6 months were tough. I broke up with my girlfriend, a sweet girl called Holly, who tried to make it work, but couldn't because I was so damn angry all the time. I lost my job, because if there's one thing an architect needs, it's his eyes. I even fell out with a lot of my friends, making excuses to not meet with them until they stopped asking. In truth, it was jealousy on my part. Envy that they got to keep living, while everything I'd ever hoped for had been snatched away. I became a recluse, never leaving my apartment, barely bothering to wash, shave, or get dressed each day. I was so sure that my life was over, I stopped even trying to live it. I was an asshole. It took me a long time to realize this, but in the end, it was the nurse assigned to visit me at home, a tall, no nonsense, experienced woman called Lois, who brought this to my attention.
"You're an asshole,"
She said. What? I gasped, shocked at her language.
"So you've got diabetes. Do you know how many people do?"
She asked, then, before waiting for my answer, she continued.
"Do you think they all hide in their apartments, refusing to get on with their lives? Losing your vision is a terrible thing, and you do have my sympathy, but, Andrew, it's no excuse to give up."
So his name is Bud Andrew now? But you don't?
I thought this was dramatic readings.
Okay, it's a bonus one.
Oh, so when it's my suggestion, we can just throw all decorum out the window.
I'm sorry. We'll keep it up.
You see, this is what I have to work with, guys.
Oh, I'll stop. You love me.
I can't work under these conditions.
But you don't, I argued, trying to defend myself, but she hadn't finished.
Understand?
She growled.
One of the bravest men I know was paralyzed from the neck down when he was just a child, and he hasn't given up. You can do so much more with your life, and you have people that want to help you do that. But you can't even be bothered to shave that ugly fucking beard off. Stop being a crybaby and make a fucking difference.
I have to say, though, I do like Flo so far.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it didn't happen overnight, and I argued with her. I was furious at her blunt insensitivity and told her to leave. I said I'd tell her superiors, but she laughed and told me I wouldn't.
You won't because you're a smart guy and you've got too much pride for that.
she said.
I'll see you next week.
That night I shaved. I opened my curtains and actually looked around. Things were blurry, but when I really looked, I could see the things scattered around my home. The mess I'd let it become. When Lois came back the following week, the place was tidy. I was clean shaven, dressed. I'd even attempted to comb my hair. She didn't say anything about it, didn't mention the argument of the week before, but she took me out for coffee down the street. She guided me along the sidewalk to the coffee shop, talking to me, reassuring me. It was daunting, even though it was less than a block away. I felt so proud when I got there. We talked, me and Lois. I think I even laughed. Afterwards, she walked me home. Then, when she helped me back inside, she said,
It's nice to meet you at last, Andrew.
that day was the
Th-
beginning of my new life. I moved to a new apartment, a ground floor place, joined a group of other young people with visual impairments. I made friends. I got out every day, even if it was just a short walk. I made a point of seeing what I could of the world.
I bought what I could, but the Sawyers, the old couple that ran the local store, would bring my groceries by once a week. Clark's a gruff old coot, so he refuses to coddle me, and he's told me that he respects me for being like I am, for maintaining my independence, for not giving up. From a guy like him, that's one of the sweetest things I've ever heard. Things were going so well, and then 1 year ago, it started. I walked into my living room, a mug of coffee in my hand, and I saw a Victorian funeral carriage stood right there on my rug, complete with two huge proud horses in full livery, adorned with long black plumes in their bridles. They stood perfectly still, while the driver, a small bearded man in period costume and top hat, fidgeted with the reins and peered at me expectantly. Bizarrely, they were far clearer than the usual blurry shapes that I could see. I damn near pissed my pants. I dropped the cup, spilling scalding hot coffee over my bare feet, jumping backwards with a cry of pain and alarm. When I returned my attention to the horses and carriage back in the room, they were gone. At that moment, I wondered if I was going mad. Apparently, most of us do, which is understandable. How would you feel if you'd seen the exact same sight in your home? Unless you're Jack the Ripper, I imagine many of you do not have a coach and horses just lying around. I certainly didn't. Eventually, after much quiet swearing to myself and more than a little self delusion, I managed to convince myself that I had not seen what I thought I had, that it was merely a very vivid daydream. This seemed to work, and I got on with living, even if I entered that same room a little more cautiously in the days that followed. Finally, I forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I saw a giant, floating, swirling orange ball in my bathroom. I damn near pissed myself again. I stood staring at it, this bizarre, rotating, levitating globe that was a little larger than a beach ball, hanging in midair over my tub, open mouthed for a full 10 seconds before finally screwing my eyelids tightly enough and whispering to myself.
That isn't fair. That isn't fair.
After 5 seconds, I opened my eyes. It wasn't there. Have you ever had cause to doubt your own sanity? To wonder whether what you perceive is truly there, or if your mind has betrayed you? Honestly, compared to the loss of my vision, prospect of losing my wits was so much more terrifying. I fought against adversity and took pride in the fact that I'm not just a survivor, but somebody who is living his own life. How could I do that if I was insane? I barely slept that night and I remained jumpy for days afterwards. Any sign of movements or any unfamiliar shape would set my pulse racing, would cause me to doubt whether it was truly there. It was the toughest time I'd ever been through, worse even than that time after I was diagnosed with diabetes.
At least when Dr. Harper had told me about the diabetes, I had uh, definitive prognosis. I was given facts by a medical professional. My affliction was physical, it had a name, and most important, it had a treatment plan. This was something else. My own mind turned against me. My senses and perception of reality had become twisted and unreliable. It's only when you're in that position that you realize just how terrifying it is. Your senses and the way in which your brain interprets them are your only true defenses against danger. You perceive danger and you avoid it, preventing your body from becoming harmed. What happens when you can't trust your perception to alert you to dangers that are truly there? Lois picked up the problem first, noticing my skittish manner. She asked what was wrong, if I needed to talk about anything. But I told her no. I was fine, but I hadn't been sleeping well. That last part was true. I hadn't been able to sleep a wink. Just the very thought of being institutionalized, spending the rest of my days as sedated, blue pajamas clad zombie in a white room with only the echoing cries of my fellow inmates for company, terrified me beyond measure. What about the alternative? Live life as a risk to myself and others? Ultimately, I chose to ignore it. The reason that if I was able to function around other people without them realizing what was going on, that was good enough. A full month passed before the next incident. I really did think that maybe I'd put this whole mess behind me. With every passing day, my confidence had grown. So that Wednesday morning, I'd stepped out onto the sunny street feeling pretty carefree. Each Wednesday, I'd treat myself to a latte down at Joe's, the same coffee shop that I'd visited with Lois. It was a custom that gave me a great deal of pleasure. One that had seen me forge friendships with other regulars as well as the staff, including Joe himself. As I made my way down the street, white stick in hand, I glanced about me, taking in the colors and shapes of the world around me. I enjoyed the feel of the sun on my face and the sounds of the birds singing. It was a good day. Then I saw them. A party of pilgrims, 6 of them, all dressed in settler era attire, sitting cross-legged on the asphalt. They didn't look at me. Instead, they were engaged in a heated, yet strangely silent conversation. I froze, staring at them. Still they argued, gesticulating furiously at one another. However, I couldn't hear their angry voices, despite the fact that, judging by their ill temperament, they must be screaming at one another. Paralyzed by shock, the white stick fell from my numb fingers, clattering onto the sidewalk. I turned to leave, desperate to flee from the haunting sight of the colonists in the road, but I was so panicked, in such a hurry, that I stepped on my cane. It rolled underfoot, and before I knew it, I pitched over, tumbling to the hard ground below.
I didn't quite break my fall in time, banging my cheek hard against the floor and skinning my palms. I heard a cry from a passerby, a friendly, concerned woman who rushed to my side. She knelt beside me, helping me up, applying a Kleenex to my throbbing cheek, which she informed me was now bleeding. I tried to tell her that I was okay, there was nothing to worry about, but this good Samaritan insisted on driving me to Dr. Harper's office to get my injuries looked at. Now I think back to it, I'm pretty sure that she knew my obvious distress was nothing to do with the fall. At the time I was embarrassed and angry, but now I realize I owe her a debt of gratitude. Without her intervention, I don't know how much longer this would have gone on before I cracked up and ended up in an asylum or breaking down through sheer stress. Andrew, why didn't you tell me what happened? Dr. Harper asked, gently dabbing at my cheek with disinfectant. I explained that I'd just lost my balance, that no harm was done, but I think he saw through my feeble protestations to my underlying agitation. He didn't press or force the matter. He simply asked what might have caused my clumsiness. Then he asked how I'd been as of late. When I'd finished mumbling my way through the most non-committal answer I could muster, he placed a gentle, reassuring hand on my shoulder. Andrew, he repeated gently, why don't you tell me what happened? I burst into tears. I told him how scared I was, how I'd fought so hard for my independence, and now I knew it would be taken from me. He listened patiently, and then asked me to tell him why I ever thought that. I paused, took a deep breath, and thought about it. This was the point of no return. But really, what other option did I have? So, with tears running down my cheeks, I told Dr. Harper everything. I told him about the horse and carriage, the orange globe, and the pilgrims. I told him how I'd been living each day in fear, how I was terrified that I was losing my mind. Dr. Harper thought for a while, and then he said, Andrew, I don't think you're losing your mind. With a sense of relief at that moment was so powerful it overwhelmed me, rendering me speechless. You say that even though you've seen these things, you've never heard any noise from them? Have you detected any odors or experienced any physical sensations, such as touching them? I shook my head no, and he patted my shoulder once again. Andrew, have you have have you heard of Charles Bonnet Syndrome? He asked.
Charles who?
I asked, confused by this sudden, unexpected turn of conversation. Okay, let me explain, Dr. Harper said kindly. Charles Bonnet was a Swiss naturalist who was born in the 1700s. He discovered a curious condition in his elderly grandfather, who was nearly completely blind due to cataracts. The old man regularly experienced visual hallucinations, including random patterns and even people and places. Sound familiar?
Yes.
I replied, still confused.
Am, am I suffering from dementia?
No, Andrew, not at all, Dr. Harper reassured me. Do you know how perception works? In layman's terms, your eyes take in light via the iris and pupil, which is then processed via the retina and translated into electrical signals that are decoded by the brain, which simply organizes these signals into a recognizable image. With me so far? I nodded, finally starting to understand. When the retina becomes damaged, such as those who have undergone macular degeneration, those signals become warped and jumbled, Dr. Harper went on. The brain still receives them, so it does its job, translating these distorted signals into an image. It kind of fills in the gaps for you. Sometimes it fills these gaps with colors, patterns, creatures, and places that aren't present. And this is called Charles Bonnet Syndrome. I nearly wept with relief.
So I'm not mad?
I cried. Not at all, the doctor replied. This is an entirely physical condition. Your mind is in full working order. If you were suffering any form of mental illness, your delusions wouldn't be limited to just the one sense. You'd hear these interlopers, smell them, even feel them. This is a condition solely related to your eyes, not your brain. As I left Dr. Harper's office, I felt as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Sure, my vision was still an issue, but now I knew it was only a problem with my eyes and not my mind. I knew I could handle this situation. I was ready to face the world again. Since then, I've seen plenty of weird visions. I saw a huge waterfall in the park, complete with a hazy mist and butterflies flitting around it. I saw a Native American warrior, complete with a huge feather headdress, sitting at a stool at the counter in the coffee shop. I saw an intricate and quite impossible structure of scaffolding crisscrossing the entire front of my apartment block. Hell, on the 4th of July last year, I even saw a great swooping green dragon in the sky, twisting and cavorting through the air overhead. All looked utterly and completely real, yet now I knew that they were simply tricks of the eye. They were no longer disturbing. In fact, I actually came to quite enjoy them, even looking at them as unique and entertaining little shows or works of art that existed purely for my pleasure and nobody else's. I came to welcome them. Then, a month ago, I saw her.
It was nighttime. It's always nighttime when I see her, and I was just getting ready for bed. I walked into the kitchen to get myself a glass of water and actually cried out in alarm when I spotted the figure in the corner. She was tall, by far the tallest woman I'd ever seen. Even though she stood hunched, she still had at least 6 inches on me. I was used to seeing characters dated in bizarre dress, but this was different somehow. It didn't seem like an outfit from any one time, instead of bizarre mishmash of items. She wore a tuxedo jacket, figure hugging in black, tailored to the female body shape, over a dirty old ruffled dress shirt. complete the ensemble, she wore a bright red bow tie. On her hands, which she held out to either side as if shrugging, or maybe feeling for rain, she wore dirty white gloves. Her fingers were disproportionately long, almost spidery. Occasionally they twitched, as if she longed to grip and squeeze something in them. On her lower half, she wore shorts the same crimson as her bow tie, over opaque black nylons. Her legs were long, lithe, attracted, if the truth be told, the legs of a dancer. She also wore red heels, the same hue as her shorts and bow tie, but they sparkled and shimmered, bringing to mind Judy Garland's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. As strange as this ensemble was, I couldn't tear my eyes from her face. Most of it was obscured by a jaunty bowler hat, tipped and tilted to hide her eyes and nose. But beneath the brim of her hat, I could see the deathly pale skin of her face and a grin that sent shivers down my spine. It was wide, too wide, with entirely too many teeth. A smile is meant to be an expression of warmth. It's meant to feel welcoming and benevolent. The look on this woman's face oozed malice. It felt much like the sort of bleed I'd expect from a snake as it corners a rat. However, the thing that startled me most was that she had a third arm sprouting from her back, curled up and over her head like a scorpion's tail. It was longer than any arm should be, and the hand only had three fingers, like a claw. It was pointed straight at me, and as I swore in dismay and stumbled sideways, it seemed to attract my movement. I stood staring at the creepy figure for a few seconds, trying to get my head around the situation. It just stood there in the corner, grinning back. Finally, I realized that this was just another of my hallucinations, and breathed an audible sigh of relief. One of the tricks I had picked up over the months of suffering from Bonnet Syndrome is the is to break the line of vision toward whichever stimulus is causing my brain to interpret the images into the hallucination. Think of it like restarting a faulty computer, how refreshing the system becomes it. To this end, I close my eyes and count to five. Then, when I reopen them, the hallucination is gone. So as I started, so as I stared at the horrifying, malformed figure in my kitchen, I knew that to make the image go away, I simply had to close my eyes. I'll be honest here. When I counted to five, I hesitated a little before opening my eyes. If I opened my eyes and she'd still been standing there, smiling that wicked smile at me, I think I might have had a heart attack. She wasn't, and I breathed another long sigh of relief, touched my glass of water, and went back to bed. The tall woman haunted my thoughts in the days after I saw her. She was different from the other visions I'd had. Somehow she felt more real.
It was the agitation that my buddy Jason picked up on when we met for lunch the following Friday. Jason was one of those same friends I'd tried to drive away shortly after I lost my vision, yet he refused to give up on me, continuing to get in touch week after week. Good friends are hard to come by, but great friends, the ones who will be by your side for life, are even rarer. Jason, God bless his kind heart, is one of the latter.
Uh, uh,
Do you want me to do it?
you got to tell me what's going on, dude.
He said as we sat down over pizza.
What do you mean?
I asked, trying to brush it off.
You're so distracted. It's like you're looking for something in here all the time. You've eaten like one slice of pizza in the time it's taken me to eat four. So I repeat, you've got to tell me what's going on.
Jason said, waving a slice of pizza around for emphasis.
It's nothing.
I replied, feeling a little stupid.
I just had a hallucination a couple of nights ago that really got to me. I thought you were cool with these now.
He asked, putting the pizza slice down.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I was, but this was different.
I replied, resigning to talking about it.
She scared me. She?
Jason asked, his interest clearly piqued.
Tell me about it.
So I did. I described the tall woman and how she appeared to me. I explained that unlike any of my other hallucinations, she felt more real, that she was the first to feature such a weird and unsettling mutation. Sure, I'd seen smaller versions of people in the past, a phenomenon referred to as Lilliputian by medical professionals, but the extra appendage and impossibly distorted face were something I had yet to encounter thus far. To think it was that, combined with the unnerving expectant stance, that had disturbed me the most.
So,
Jason said after I'd finished.
you say she had great legs? Shut up, you asshole.
I laughed, throwing my napkin at him.
No, seriously, I get it, man.
Jason replied, passing the napkin back to me.
If I walked into a room and a giant mutant was waiting for me, it'd scare the shit out of me, too. But you know what caused you to see this? It's like the coachman in the waterfall you saw. It's a condition that you know you have, and it's one that you know how to deal with, okay? I know.
I replied.
Thanks, Ben. You're right.
I did feel better too, so I smiled at him, took a big bite out of my pizza, and changed the subject, asking about his psycho ex, a conversation he was all too happy to dive into. The next time I saw the tall woman, just under a week later, I was brushing my teeth. I stood at the wash basin, brushing away, when I spotted a figure in the mirror. She was out in the dark hallway, peeking around the door behind me. That same sinister grin I'd seen before stretched her narrow face into a distorted grimace, the dirty bowler hat pushed down over her eyes once again. Each of those three long, spidery hands gripped the doorframe. As crazy as it sounds, it feels like she was trying to avoid being spotted. I cried out, spitting toothpaste foam all over the mirror, my toothbrush clattering into the basin. I spun around, my heart thumping in my chest, my breathing ragged in my throat. She wasn't there. Of course she wasn't. The doorway was empty. I tiptoed forward, hesitantly, trying to look around the doorframe into the hallway without actually sticking my neck out into the shadowy confines. The seconds ticked by as I drew closer and closer. I couldn't see anything, so finally, with a whisper of self-affirmation, I stepped out of the bathroom. The hallway was empty, as was the rest of my apartment. I was shaken again. This was the first time I'd seen a hallucination in a reflection, and I wasn't sure if I'd actually seen it. Now, as I sit here writing this, knowing what would follow, I think I thought like that to try to protect myself, to seal myself from the truth. I was an idiot. A full fortnight passed without incident. Sure, I saw a flash of color one day, a dancing yellow lightning bolt that zigzagged back and forth on the street outside my apartment, but that was exactly the sort of thing I'd come to expect from my condition. It was exciting, otherworldly, but it wasn't scary. Not like she was. In retrospect, that fourth night was blissful. It was a reminder of what life could be like, the existence that I carved out for myself since my diagnosis. Life was good. The night that changed the way I viewed the tall woman. Last night, I'd been out and had a couple of drinks. I met the other guys with visual impairment for dinner, and we ended up at the bar afterwards. I wasn't hammered, but I got through plenty of beer between us, and by the time I stepped out into the cool night air, I decidedly felt lightheaded.
Took
Do you
me
want
a
me to
while
keep
to.
going?
Okay. Took me a while to make it home, laughing and talking to a couple of the other guys from our group as we strolled along. It had been a great evening. Probably the last truly good one I'll ever have. I bid the other guys good night and, fumbling with my key, let myself in. With swaying steps, I strolled into my hallway, slamming the door a little too loudly behind me. I took off my jacket, hung it on by the door, and then hit the light switch. She was waiting at the end of the hallway, all three hands held aloft into claws, reaching for me, that same maddening, malevolent grin on her pale face. I swore again, louder than ever, actually jumping back a step, recoiling from the impossibly tall and terrifying figure lying in wait in my own home. The tall woman didn't move. She just stood there, staring and smiling at me. I stared back, but I sure as hell didn't smile. Jesus Christ, I muttered under my breath. You know how you can feel a little paranoid after a few beers? That feeling of non-specific post-alcohol dread? Imagine that combined with the giant gritty mutant woman suddenly appearing in your home. Suffice to say, it was a very, very, very uncool. I don't need this. I sighed and closed my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I opened my eyes, her face was just a foot from my own, grinning wider than ever. She dashed the length of the hallway and now stood so close that her long, grasping arms were to either side of me, her fingers twitching and clawing at the air around my face. I could see her chest heaving as if she were actually laughing silently at my attempts to dismiss her, as if the thought that I could ever be free from her was amusing. I screamed, a full-bodied shriek of terror, and actually dropped to my knees, covering my head as if to fend off an unexpected blow. It never came. Finally, I lowered my hands, gasping for breath, shaking. The hallway was empty, the tall woman nowhere to be seen. I stayed there, on my knees, for a moment, gasping for breath. Then I was on my feet, and I turned and ran, out of the apartment, out of the building, and into the street. I stood there, shivering, terrified beyond reason, without a clue as to what I'd do next. Finally, I pulled my phone from my pocket, and I made a phone call. "Hey, Andy, what's up?" Jason asked. "Jason, I need you to come here," I said, sobbing. Jason didn't ask why, didn't complain. Instead, he simply replied, "I'm on my way." Less than 20 minutes later, his car pulled up outside and he dashed over the steps outside my building where I was sitting, shivering. He threw his jacket around my shoulders and asked what happened, his voice filled with concern. "She's in there," I stammered. "A tall woman. She's back." "Okay, okay," he said, gently helping me to my feet. "Come on, man, let's go in there and check it out." I wish I could say that I was brave when I went inside, but I'd be lying. I cowered behind Jason, one hand on his shoulder as we made our way through my home. Of course, we didn't find a thing. Talking about a giant mutant woman in a poky little one-bed apartment. Where the hell was she going to hide? Finally, after we checked every single room twice, I had to admit that she was gone. "I'm so sorry, man," I apologized, feeling genuinely stupid. "I got scared and I'm sorry, man." "Hey, forget about it, right?" Jason said. "So I'm here now. Where do you keep your booze?" Half a bottle of bourbon later, we were both feeling pretty talkative. "She's, just kind of different, I tried to explain. I get it," he said. "It's like when you saw something bad and you feel bad, and that's bad." He didn't get it. "No, she's different, I explained. "I've never had a repeat hallucination before. They've never been scary, She's not like the others." "Dude," Jason said, taking another sip of bourbon, "you've got like Bonnet Syndrome, and that makes you see shit, so." He waved his hands in the air like a magician who just performed a trick. "I know, I know," I replied. "Now listen, Andy. You know it makes you see shit. It's just your eyes, yeah? You didn't hear anything. You didn't feel anything. This is how that stuff goes. It's your eyes. And I know it's scary, man. But you've been through like hell and high water in your life so far. You're tough. One of the toughest, bravest guys I know. And you can handle some creepy hallucination, bitch."
Can there's gonna be some dialogue and we're getting to the end. I'll take it. The
Okay.
rest. I laughed. I couldn't help it.
She is a very creepy hallucination bitch, though, dude.
He laughed too, and we both took a drink.
That could help.
He said finally, his voice thoughtful.
What? Drinking?
I asked.
No. Well, yes, it does.
He giggled.
I mean, like, demystifying her. You should give her a name. Something stupid so she's not crazy. Or so she's not scary. I've got to say that as much as I like creepy hallucination bitch, that's a bit of a mouthful.
I laughed.
Yeah, I get that.
He replied. Something suddenly he said came back to me.
What about Helen?
I suggested.
Helen Highwater. Awesome.
He said, then raised his glass.
Here's to Helen, buddy. To Helen.
I smiled and drained my glass. Jason spent the night on my sofa, mainly because he had had too much to drink to even think about getting behind the wheel of a vehicle. But honestly, I think the reason he drank so much was so he'd have an excuse to stay and keep an eye on me. I'm glad he did. Knowing that he was there made me feel safer, and I was able to get some sleep. It gave me a sense of security to know that if the strange vision I had just christened Helen was to appear, I'd be able to call him for support. This morning, we both needed support.
Feels like a mule kicked me in the head.
He groaned when I made my way into the living room.
Yep.
I replied, my own head thumping.
Joe's? Joe's.
He replied firmly and staggered to his feet. As we drank strong black coffee and ate muffins, we didn't talk much. Finally, Jason broke the silence.
So, you feel cool now?
He asked, his mouth still full of blueberry muffin. I nodded.
Yeah, I think so. Not still freaked out about you know who?
He asked.
Helen?
I replied with a smile.
No, I don't really think I am. I reckon I can handle some creepy hallucination, bitch. Good.
He laughed, still giving me a hearty pat on the back.
That's cool, man. I bet you can.
Now, as I sit here cowering in my bathroom, too scared to go out into my apartment, I know we are both wrong. About everything. I remember how earlier I told you that the thought of being institutionalized, the very idea of losing my grasp on reality was the most terrifying thing I could imagine. Now I'd welcome that, because the alternative is far, far worse. After breakfast, I said goodbye to Jason and he climbed into his car and drove away. The day passed without incident, and when Lois stopped by this afternoon, she even commented on how upbeat I seemed. You got a lady in your life? She asked casually. I laughed at that, wondered what she'd think if she knew the truth.
Yeah,
I chuckled.
something like that.
Good for you, she sniffed. You make sure you treat her right. This tickled me even more, and I had to bite my lip.
Sure,
I replied.
I'll do my best.
Tonight, still a little white from the exertions of the previous evening, I decided to turn in early. I brushed my teeth, washed my hands and face, and got changed. Finally, I fetched a glass of water and walked into my bedroom. I climbed into bed and instantly felt so relaxed. Within mere seconds, I was ready for sleep. That sudden, overwhelming drowsiness that comes when you've spent the whole day keeping sleep at bay. I decided that resistance was futile and sat up to switch off the light. I nearly didn't see her, but as I reached for the switch, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. My heart leaped into my throat, and as I turned to the foot of my bed, the woman was crouching there, her grinning face staring at me from just beyond my feet. So many teeth. Her long, slender fingers spread out over my blankets, twitching silently as she gripped the end of the bed. Slowly, excruciatingly so, her third misshapen arm came into view over her shoulder, joining the other hands on my bedding. I froze, utterly petrified. I was at a crossroads here, arriving at a pivotal moment that had been coming for some time. But this time I'd had enough,
You don't scare me anymore.
I said, my voice filled with defiance and anger.
I'm not letting you do this to me.
I reached across the lights to the light switch.
Good night, Helen.
I said triumphantly, then flicked it, plunging the room into darkness. I laid there, a sense of tremendous pride surging through me, and I grinned to myself in my warm, comfortable bed, overjoyed at the emotional victory of overcoming my own fear. And then it happened. That thing that led me here. Something that turned my blood to ice water and my bowels to jelly. Good night, Andrew. Her rasping voice hissed from the darkness. And that was Charles Bonnet Syndrome.
Okay.
That was good.
Yeah.
You don't seem as enthused. I liked that.
I don't know, it was good. Just I felt like some of the word choices were a little pretentious.
Like what?
Like he kept calling the bathroom sink the wash basin.
That might be a regional thing.
Yeah, like saying a fortnight.
Mm.
Just stuff like that.
I don't know. That didn't bother me. I always thought like things like wash basin and stuff like that were more regional.
So yeah, that was good. Jeez. Yeah, I do apologize though. I read a couple of Mike's comments and was trying not to laugh. He said,
Uh-huh.
Andrew, did you ever hear the tragedy of Charles Bonnet the Blind?
Uh-huh.
And of course, everyone making jokes about what is it, like the Resident Evil vampire woman.
Of course, big titty goth GF.
Uh, uh, but yeah, overall, that
Mike
was good.
seems annoyed at Helen Highwater. Is that a reference that I'm not getting?
I think he just thought it was like a corny name.
So, Mike, you didn't seem to like that.
Pretty decent, though. I thought it was kind of overly long in some areas. I'll be ending a mile away. She sniffed. That's normal way of talking.
I think that when someone says that, it means like there's kind of like snorting at you.
Yeah,
Bagel said, sorry, lol, despite my fucking around, I did like the story.
that's good.
Well, no, jokes are fine, but Mike does not seem to like it.
Yeah. Hell and high water, i.e., the worst things to come.
Oh, okay.
Uh, okay, I'm looking at the comments. I immediately hate Macho Man Vert saying he should try flirting with her. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up.
It's just a joke. He said, by the way, great story, kept me interested the whole way through. And thank you for being the first creepy pasta I've read. Aw. Baby's first creepy pasta. Noah Dixon. No Nightmare Fuel 3 arm GF. Why live?
Oh my god. Was a very delicious read. Okay, could you have made that song creepier?
Yeah, that's an uncomfortable way to describe it.
uh,
So Mike said, oh, don't get me wrong, it's high marks for creepypastas, but had a lot of things that came across as either pretentious, try hard, or inconsistent. The concept's not bad. I didn't think it was very pretentious at all.
oh my god.
I don't know, maybe you guys are seeing something that I didn't, but I liked it. It has what I usually like reading in a story. It became personable, like you get a feel for who the main character is.
No, no.
Um I
Uh,
liked the idea. Like I liked the idea that over time I started to get like actually look forward to seeing my own these own little visions and stuff like that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, although I gotta say, it sounded like you were trying not to laugh when he said, "I saw pilgrims."
Yeah, that was funny. But I think my probably my only complaint was that I don't know, I think the design for the um hallucination seems a little silly, like the bowler hat,
Yeah,
little shorts, like a why is she like that just sounds like trying to be a bit of a like that's just a little bit too fan servicey enough that like you're trying to bait people into making fan art for it.
yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like you're clearly trying some marketing thing here because what do we know about Andrew's appearance?
Like I don't mind the fact that it describes the because like it was descriptive of the other hallucinations too.
Yeah,
So I don't mind that like being descriptive of what's haunting him. It's just that the what the design choice in and of itself, like it's clearly trying to bait people and being like, "Oh, we it's clearly knows its audience and is realizing that, the creepypasta audience is going to make it sexy anyway. So now it's just baiting it like, ooh, look at this sexy, scary,
yeah.
hallucination goth GF."
And I want to specify when I said "Oh God" earlier, it's because I was looking at more comments.
Mm,
Like Cyan waits. You didn't add the details of getting laid by Helen. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you, Cyan waits?
Mike
Plot,
said, I felt like his blindness was only a problem when the story needed it to be, and it was normal for him the rest of the time. Well, that's just kind of what blindness is. Like, a lot of people can do live very independent lives even when they lose their sight.
yeah, a plot
The
twist.
father
Hell,
said, I liked it, but it was a bit odd how it was described some things and was too long in some areas. It also had the now I'm sitting here writing this thing, which isn't inherently bad, but is far from original. Honest. Mike said, honestly, swap Big Titty Bowler Hat Monster for a Shadow Man or something. That was the tipping point of the story for me.
okay, well, yeah, that's similar to
Bagel
what you
said
said
it
about.
should have been Bowler Hat Guy from Meet the Robinsons instead.
I haven't seen that.
I get your reference, Bagel. I've seen Meet the Robinsons.
The other hallucinations were ordinary, albeit anachronistic things. I didn't mind that at all. But then we get Helen. Yeah, well, it's like you said, Ken. It's like
Well, that's kind of the
very
point.
yeah, very fan servicey.
Like, I think it could have just been very, like, if you just gave her very plain clothes or something tattered or, I don't know, something. The fact that it was dirty is fine, but the nylon stockings, the red heels, like that's unnecessary.
This one person says, plot twist: Helen was a man in disguise and was mad at Andrew for misgendering him. What? POV: Helen makes a TikTok of him sleeping. Oh no, I think I'm catching feelings. Shut up.
Oh, great. Great pasta and let her know I think she's hot.
Helen Highwater equals tall Momo.
Oh, God. Yes, Senpai Helen. See, that's the
Sen-
problem.
uh,
So that's my problem is that clearly it was designed to be fan servicey, but I think the writing generally was really well done.
yeah,
I liked both of these a lot.
yeah, so did I. Son of a bitch.
What?
Helen is my nightmare waifu.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Lois equals Helen, am I right?
No.
No? I really want to see a sequel. Um, Honestly, Ginger Biscuits 57. I don't. I like a lot of the times when things are just kind of left as they are, like you don't get much of an explanation.
This is the problem, is that when a story gets really popular and then the writer feels compelled to write a sequel,
Yeah.
even with the um really bad ones like Sonic.exe and Pokemon Dead Channel, is that I don't think there was ever a plan for sequels, because even as bad as they were at least written with a finality to them. But
Yeah.
because they got so popular, they had to force themselves to write something that was even worse.
Hmm.
And that just means you have to write all this extra bullshit that clearly was not set up in the first one.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like seven guardian buddies or something.
Yeah, and that was my problem with the Five Nights at Freddy's video games. Like, you have this one game, this really short, simple game that relied on jump scares too much, that got really, really popular, especially with furries, and had kind of a fun plot point, like, oh, the the animatronics are haunted by spirits of kids who died in the restaurant. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah.
But then it got so popular that forced Scott Cawthorn, was that it? Cawthorn?
I think so.
It forced Scott to make a sequel. Now, the sequel in itself wouldn't be that bad. The sequel is fine. But then they keep trying to add more lore to it.
Hmm.
And, giving Matt Pat his annual orgasm. And it kept getting more contrived. And everyone's like, oh, Scott, you genius, of course.
Yeah.
What's the lore this time? Like, we're going to try to piece it all together. When there's nothing to piece together, he's making it up as he goes. He didn't have a plan for this franchise.
No, not at all. Okay, Mike, are
And
you?
meanwhile, you have Matt Pat and these furries just frothing at the mouth, ready to, like, oh, how are we gonna piece it? How do we fit it into the timeline this time? What timeline?
Yeah. And Mike, are you reading the comments? Because he says also Helen keeps reminding me of the Bad Creepypasta Bloody Painter episode. Right as I see someone say red goggles here, my first thought of Helen was Bloody Painter for some reason.
Yes, because for some reason it's a-okay when Jack gets constantly raped throughout these. The name Jack constantly gets raped with these stories, but
Yeah.
you have two Helens, and suddenly, oh,
Yeah.
there's the connection, even though two genders.
Yeah. And yeah, and of course the story Bloody Painter, where they name a guy Helen.
That's what I meant. The two different genders
Yeah.
of.
I just remember that in the comments for that video, someone's like, "Well, Helen's actually a unisex name." No, it isn't. What the hell are you smoking?
Maybe it was in the long, long ago.
Yeah.
It is certainly not now.
Raptor says, "I will say at least Scott Cawthorn actually finishes his games." I'm like Yandere Dev.
Like, technically, my name is technically a unisex name, but you would be hard pressed to find a man named Mackenzie now.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how names sometimes go.
Yep.
Eventually, it'll start out as one name and it gets skewed to the other sex.
Yes, exactly. Five Nights at Freddy's 8, the nukes drop, the end.
Honestly, I'd be down.
Yeah.
Is he still making them? I
I don't
lost.
know.
I lost. I stopped caring after the fifth. Because I know. Because not only that, but because it's such a very simple and easy game to make, because you really don't have to do anything. You have so many fan games that get made.
Hmm.
And Matt Pat's played them all.
Honestly, though, I want to watch, was it like Willy's Wonderland or whatever?
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, it's available for renting now, I think, on YouTube.
Well, the director said that it was in no way inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, and I believe him.
What?
It's not a nuanced or it is in by no way an original concept of haunted animatronics.
Yeah, that's a like. Have you watched like Ellis the Alien's review of it?
Yes, I was the one who posted that into Discord when it came out.
I knew that.
Quit backtracking. What was your point?
I love that Nick Cage doesn't have a single line in the whole movie.
I do agree with Elvis on the one point that he should have at least had one liner at the end.
Yeah, that would have been great. I don't know. Maybe I'll rent that once we're done streaming here.
Oh god, Bagel says yes, the new one's coming for PS5, no joke. What?
What? Freddy Fazbear is actually possessed by the ghost of Harry Truman. Says Raptor. What? Tell me that's a joke, Raptor.
Either
Tell me.
Raptor's smoking or this is a Matt Pat theory he's referencing.
Wait. You honestly think Raptor saying like that, something like that, means that he's smoking after you've gotten to know him? I think that's
Yes.
I think that's just Raptor.
This is out there even for Raptor.
Ghost of Harry Truman. I will be angry if that's real. God.
Obviously, it's not Manny. Even the lore in Five Nights at Freddy's wouldn't get that contrived.
Okay, I'm actually kind of angry at Raptor now because I just looked in the Cursed Museum.
Why would he do?
Raptor, go to Unforgivable Jail. He, he posted a picture of Toad from Mario, but he's like wearing tiny whities and has like muscular human legs.
That's not even the worst thing that's been posted here. Get the fuck out.
It's the worst that I will be accepting of and allowed to stay in there. Except that part that people were posting earlier.
Mm.
It is a joke. Okay, good.
Why do you keep thinking it was not a joke?
Because I have no faith in anyone.
That's a stretch even for that franchise. Come on. Like, common sense goes a long, long way, Manny.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's 6:45. We have officially reached over 2 hours, which means that, we'll at least get a decent number of views.
Yes.
And I am hungry, and I have some leftover Mediterranean turkey.
Nice. Well, thanks guys for joining us. Um, I will be back tomorrow with Raptor and hopefully Cove as well. Kenzie the Trader will be off somewhere else.
I'm having a girls' night with some friends. Sorry, guys.
And then we will be back next Wednesday, hopefully with Gemma.
And I will definitely be back next week to carry on Empress Trees. Honestly, my going out is a gift to you guys.
Is it?
We don't have to read Empress Teresa tomorrow. Yes.
Fair. All right, so thanks for stopping by, everyone. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Same bean time, same bean channel.
Good night, guys. Well, that was fun.